Hi guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, Healthy Cooking with Shayda. This is where I teach you simple, healthy meals that are salt, oil, and sugar-free. Today, with Passover being so close, today I'm going to show you how to make my grandmother's charoset. Now, charoset is made with apples, nuts, and spices, and it's basically, we have that for the Seder table. It represents mortar used for brickmaking when the Israelites were in Egypt. The sweetness represents freedom. So what do we have for Grandma's recipe? Grandma's recipe, I remember as a kid at the Seder table, we always could not wait. It was once a year she made this, and it was absolutely delicious. And finally, as I got older, I had to have my grandmother teach me how to make it because I loved hers the best out of anybody's. So for this recipe, we're going to put it in the food processor. We have 1 cup of toasted cashews, roasted, 1 cup pistachios, we have 1 cup of almonds, and 1 cup of hazelnuts. Now, typically Grandma used to put walnuts in here, but because of my allergy to walnuts, I will not be using walnuts today. So go ahead and use your food processor fitted with an S-blade. We're going to pulse this, and you want to make this into a powder. Don't over process this when you're making it, because then it's going to become a paste, and that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for that powder consistency. So I think we got it. And it really doesn't take all that long to get that. So I've ground up the nuts, and I just wanted to show you what they look like, if you guys can see it. You don't want it, you want a little bit of chunky pieces so that you can bite into. So you don't want it completely to be like a powder, but you want it, but you also don't want like big pieces in there. So make sure that you chop it up finely. But, and if it has some little pieces in there, it's really nice because it'll be more texture. So when you're biting into it and eating it, it's actually really yummy. So the next thing that we're going to add in here, let me show you what kind of pear I used. This is one of the brown pears. So I've got one of these chopped up, peeled and chopped up, that we're going to put in the food processor. And then to that, we're going to add 1 medium size or large green apple. Now you want to peel the green apple and chop it up, and we're going to put that in here. So that's where the moisture is going to come in. We are also going to add in here 1/2 cup of red raisins and green raisins, 1/2 cup of each. So we're going to add that in here. Make sure when buying your raisins that you buy the ones that are unsulfured, unsweetened, and no oil, because a lot of times with the raisins, they're going to add oil to it. But if you look at the back and you look at the front, make sure that it says sun-dried only. And on the back, you want to make sure that it just says raisins. If it says any kind of oil or anything else in there, that's not what we want to use. The other thing we're going to add to this is 1 cup of MEDJOOL dates. Make sure that you take out the pits. And then what I do, because it makes it easier for the food processor to blend, I go ahead and chop it up. You don't have to chop it up finely, but just chop it up in half. And you want to make sure that your dates are soft. If you see that your dates are really not moist and they're pretty I don't know what you call it, they're dry, basically. They're dry, they're not soft. Go ahead and soak it in water for maybe 10-15 minutes, and that'll soften it up. Then you can toss out the water, and then you can go ahead and use the dates in here. But these dates were really sweet. They're really ripe, so I think we're going to be okay in using it. And when you're putting it in the food processor, make sure you put it all the way around so that it's not just all one-sided. So that takes care of that. And then we are going to and make sure you stop it in, halfway through, so you could scrape down the sides. Okay, we're gonna let this go a little bit longer because it's still pretty chunky. Okay, I think this ought to do it. Let's take it all out. You guys are gonna love this. This is so delicious. And what's really nice is that everybody makes this differently. The Ashkenazis will make it a certain way. The Sephardics will make it a certain way. So depending on where you're from, you know, the Middle Easterns make it one way. The Iraqis make it one way. So depending on where you're from, everybody's gonna have their little twist to it, which makes it really, really interesting. So now that we've already blended the raisins and the apples and the pears and all that, we're going to take all that mixture and we're going to add it to our dry ingredients of the nuts. So go ahead and get that all in here. And this makes a pretty big batch, but remember, you know, when Grandma made this, it went to everybody's house, everybody took it home, and then it lasted for about a week. Well, maybe at some homes more than a week, but some homes maybe just a couple of days, depending on who is eating this. So now we're going to add our spices to this. Now, what do we have? If you go to the Middle Eastern store, they have actually a packet that's already made up of the spices, and all you would do is take 1 tablespoon of that, and it's for Passover, and it's usually for making this. But my Aunt Giti said, no, we could just do 1/4 of each of the spice. So we are going to put 1/4 of a teaspoon of ground clove, ground ginger, cinnamon, and coriander. And I think if you wanted to put a little bit more cinnamon, well, there's no one up here watching you. I think it'll be tasty, actually. So get that all in here. So now we're going to add 1/4 of a teaspoon of clove. We just got our cinnamon in there. Next, we are going to add 1/4 of a teaspoon of ground ginger. And then we are going to add 1/4 of a teaspoon of dried coriander. I wish you guys were here to smell this. It smells really good. Making this makes me feel like I'm here with Grandma, which is really nice. Now, for the good stuff that's going to go in here, we are going to be putting 1 cup of pure pomegranate juice. Not the paste, but the juice. And you want pure pomegranate. So we're going to put that in here. If you guys know me, you know how much I love pomegranates. And to this, we are going to add the Manischewitz. That's right, it's Concord grape. It's got a little bit of alcohol, but everybody always has Manischewitz for Passover. Now, if you wanted to leave the alcohol out, the Manischewitz out, you can. And instead of putting 1 cup of Manischewitz in here, you can add another cup of pomegranate juice in here. So we put that in here. And to this mixture, we're also going to add about a shot of, I don't know, about that much, probably 1/4 of a cup of red wine vinegar. All right, and then you're going to mix everything until everything is well incorporated. If I remember correctly, even after Grandma used to make this probably about a day in advance, and before she served it, she would give it another shot of the red wine vinegar. Or she might even do the Manischewitz. I remember both, actually. But yeah, she would do another shot of Manischewitz in here. Now, if you look at this, it's starting to look like a mortar. That's exactly what we want, because we're going to have this during Seder. We are going to have this with the matzah, and we're going to have it with romaine lettuce. So once you make this, you want this to sit for a little while so that it can start absorbing everything. So everything's been put together. Our charoset is ready. I've put in this beautiful dish, and I've got the matzah and the romaine lettuce around it. Why? Because the way that we eat this, you take the matzah and then you put the charoset on top of it. It's like the mortar. The matzah is to represent the brick. And then we take the romaine and we put that on top. And then we put another matzah on top and we eat it like a sandwich, and it is absolutely delicious. Or if you don't want to eat it that way, then you take the romaine lettuce and you stuff it with a charoset and you just eat it that way. So there's many options of many ways of eating this. Now, when you want to make this, I suggest you make it a day before. I remember Grandma making it about a day or two before, and then this will give it time for all the nuts and everything to absorb the liquid that we just added to it. Then right before she was ready to serve it, she would add about a shot of either Manischewitz or the red wine vinegar just to get it going again. But I tell you what, the longer this sits, the more delicious it is. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're trying to reach as many people as possible. Please give us a thumbs up so you like our videos. Remember guys, it's one bite at a time, one meal at a time. Please check out my website for more recipes, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you again, and have a good night.